Welcome to the No Te Rindas Intermediate English Podcast, home of the Tenaz Intermediate English app, disponible en noterrindaspodcast.us. Este es un podcast para hispanohablantes que quieren mejorar su comprensión auditiva del inglés de los Estados Unidos. Somos dos hermanos americanos con raíces mexicanas. Soy Gabo, o Gabe, aquí con mi hermano mayor Goyo, or Greg.
On occasion, we like to pick a topic that is of the moment in the Spanish-speaking world and discuss it, mostly in English. During the conversation, we will shed light on any references or expressions that we use in English, to help you with your English.
Hey, Greg, what does it mean to shed light on something?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Shed light on means like iluminar or aclarar. And the word shed by itself means something that comes off of something else. Like a snake will shed its skin or a dog will shed its fur when it's hot in the summertime. And what is our topic of the moment, Gabe?
So today we were going to talk about La Velada del Año número 4. And which is a boxing and wrestling competition between famous internet streamers and influencers that takes place in Spain, actually in a stadium where you've actually been there, haven't you?
Oh, that's right. The Bernabéu stadium in Madrid is a place that I went once in 2016, and I went into the museum down below and walked around on the turf. It was fantastic. So in researching this, I noticed some similarities to American culture. Namely, I thought about Jake Paul, that he has decided to become a boxer after being famous on a streaming service like YouTube. So I went back and did a little digging, and it turns out that on YouTube back in the 2010s, something very similar to this Velada event was happening in the United States.
Okay, how was it similar? What was it?
Well, it was prominent personalities on YouTube who were then fighting each other.
So it's like the worst of humanity or human impulses that we have. We want to celebrity-fy people, and then we want to see people fight. So this is combining those two things. Okay, well that makes sense, and I guess that's why it's so unusual. Go ahead.
Yeah. Now, does this seem very strange to you that somebody who's good, for example, at playing video games on the internet, does it make sense to you that they would then fight somebody else? I mean, you and I have practiced boxing plenty of times together, and you get tired after like 30 seconds. It's not a natural changeover from playing video games to boxing.
No, it's not. So it's a strange thing that you would take people who were not necessarily athletes and have them do something that is extremely challenging physically. Now, when I watched La Velada, they were wearing some very conservative headgear that was designed to keep them from breaking each other's noses.
Right.
Sorry,
you used the word headgear. That's a good word to highlight. Headgear is like casco a little bit, I suppose.
Right. Your headgear is technically anything you wear on your head. But in boxing, headgear is a protective padded helmet or hat that you wear to protect your face primarily, and protect your head.
I noticed that they had padding. Padding is like la almohadita, the little cushion or pillow. They had it on the back of the head too, so that if somebody, I believe you call it a rabbit punch, when someone hits you in the back of the head, if they hit you in the back of the head, your head would be protected.
Right, which I think is very wise that they would that they would allow these people to wearing very protective gear, and boxing is not nearly as dangerous as not wearing protective gear. Certainly when certainly when I used to box with my karate student friends, we would wear headgear that had a face shield, like una escuda over the face, and it allows you to hit each other pretty hard without doing grievous injury to each other. Because on the other hand, when I was in high school, I very clearly remember some of my karate buddies, they were sparring, which is just, when you're fighting in a controlled way. And they were sparring, doing karate, and one of them kicked the other one in the face and knocked his tooth out.
Oh my goodness.
And
I'm sorry, that mirrors my experience too. I did some sparring with my son, Lucas, when he was studying martial arts, and particularly boxing. And we would agree to spar with full headgear and pads on. And he got me right in the nose one time with, I guess these are 16 or 18 ounce gloves, which are the more protective size gloves. And he still, as we would say in English, he rang my bell. I saw stars. I saw little birdies, flying around my head. And I thought that my nose was going to bleed. I thought that blood was going to come from my nose, but it didn't. So I was very glad about that. And I think, Gabe, that was the day that I retired from sparring Lucas. I think that might have been my last attempt.
Well, it sounds like, a wise thing. There's a famous movie. There's a famous movie where Morgan Freeman, that actor, says, "Every fighter thinks he's got one more fight left." And he was talking about how that's a mistake. But I watched, for example, Yosoyplex fight against a streamer named Mariana. And they were both looked like they had trained for the event. They were not gasping for breath. One of them was, significantly more athletic looking than the other one. Yosoyplex looked like he probably lifts weights or, does heavy exercising. But both of these guys are people who play video games while other people watch. So that's a very interesting concept.
Hey, that's a good point that you're making. We say in English that you watch someone play video games or that you watch TV. As I know in Spanish, we use a lot of ve or ver with that construct. So this is an example of where you would absolutely use the word watch and not, for example, the word see or the word look. You watch someone video streaming or you watch someone on Twitch. You don't see them and you don't look at them. That doesn't sound accurate to me. It doesn't sound normal.
Yeah, it really is strange how certain words, they just don't get used for certain concepts, and we don't see the TV. You can see the TV, like if you look through the window of a car and see that there's a TV in the back seat.
Exactly. But little children watching it. Yeah.
But if you're observing what the program that is on television, you're watching the program. You're not seeing it or looking at it. There are a few groups of people that will say look at. I was looking at the TV, but watch by far is the most common. So
if you say you're looking at TV, you're not doing anything very specific. You're just kind of bored and almost like thumbing through TikTok. That's kind of like looking at TikTok. But if you're watching TikTok, that's your favorite TikToker giving you a great recipe or teaching you how to change out the muffler on a 78 Camaro or, whatever it is.
Well, it's interesting because the influencers and streamers that I know best are the ones that my daughter, who is now 19, that she has grown up watching. And they're all people that I feel a lot of affection for.
Mm-hmm.
They're people that I really feel like a friend, because they're funny and they're interesting, and they introduce Ella and me to they introduce us to new video games, for example. And then a lot of times there's a lot of laughter. So I don't know that I would want to see them punch each other.
Peace.
Yeah,
I care about both of you.
Saying I like Jacksepticeye and I like Markiplier, and I don't want to see Jacksepticeye punch Markiplier. What if they hurt each other?
Yeah, and I go back a little bit farther than you because Lucas is older than Ella, but I remember Stampy Longnose.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Chuggaaconroy. I don't know if these names are familiar to our audience, but they played, I think, Mario and Minecraft,
Right.
heavily, 10 years ago, 12 years ago on these streaming services. It was just YouTube at the time, but I can't imagine in my mind's eye is my imagination. I cannot imagine in my mind's eye, watching Stampy Longnose fight against Chuggaaconroy. That makes no sense to me. But I noticed in watching footage of this, they filled up the stadium. I mean, thousands and thousands of people were there.
Yeah, this Ibai Llanos guy is obviously a genius. He's the number one internet celebrity in Spain. And he's the one that came up with this idea of La Velada, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And in this case, it's being shown on Twitch, at least in live time. And I guess what's different between Twitch and YouTube is that Twitch, they really specialize in live streams, like you're watching it happen right now. Which is sort of the essence of sports. You generally want to see the game when it's happening. If you really care about the game, you don't want to wait and watch a recap. Whereas YouTube, I guess, is different.
So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to answer the question, was last year's fight between the two rivers, right? Because there's a Rivers from Spain, and then there's a Rivers from Mexico. What was my opinion of that fight? And then Gabe is going to cross into a deeper topic, which is the question, are esports a sport?
To hear the rest of the episode, please visit www.patreon.com/No Te Rindas Podcast.